Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 141. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. She was born and raised in Alabama's Black Belt region, and she's no stranger to perseverance, strength, and agility. She's running a multi-million-dollar agribusiness that produces organic produce for children throughout the state, as well as providing jobs for the local economy. She's an educator, serial entrepreneur, investor, founder, and chief executive officer of Organpi Farms, LLC. Welcome, Dr. Portia Fulford.
Thank you so very much. So excited to be here.
It is my pleasure. You have a really amazing bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your company?
Sure. Like you said, my name is Dr. Portia Fulford, the founder and CEO of Organpi Farms, LLC, which is an agribusiness company in Alabama that serves fresh fruits for schools. And we also recently merged into Organpi Farms Corporation, which is the largest supplier and grower of hemp in Alabama. I'm a mother of four. I reside in Selma, the historic city of Selma, Alabama, where I oversee daily operations of both of my commercial operations and farming. We have a farm-to-table restaurant, a bar, bed and breakfast, online investment company. So I'm pretty much stationary, mostly in Alabama. This is home for me. So deciding to move back and to invest in the Alabama Black Belt has been a long-term vision that I've held since leaving here for college in 1999.
And where did you go to college, and where did you leave from and come back to?
Yes, I went to college at Alabama University, and I got a doctoral degree from Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta. Shortly after getting that doctoral degree, I relocated to Harlem, New York, where I stayed for about 3 years and decided to start making my initial investments in Alabama. So I moved back from Harlem back to Alabama.
Talk about your why. Why did you go back from Harlem to Alabama? What was drawing you back to Alabama?
Well, as many people say that to visit the Alabama Black Belt, this place has a heartbeat like no other. And the people that are in Alabama really are just some of the best people in the world, but the area needed a lot of development. And so, whereas most people would kind of shy away from a little bit of hard work, it was an opportunity to make a generational impact on the Black Belt community, the actual physical landscape. So it was a combination of really a desire to see the Black Belt develop into an economically thriving region. And also it was personal because my grandparents and great-grandparents were both sharecroppers in the Black Belt area. So it was very personal, but also it extended a lot of opportunity for moving back and develop in the area as well.
And what was that aha moment, Dr. Portia, that you knew that your business was going to be successful?
That aha moment for me was actually the first year of farming where we lost $1 million. That first year, it was an aha moment because it was the moment where I had the ultimate choice. Do I fold in and do what most people do, which is seek a comfort of employment? Do I fold in, or do I kind of dust myself off, lift my head up, look forward, and to really begin to view my operations not just as a farm, but as an agribusiness empire that is propelled and driven by meaning and passion and desire, and really to mobilize these intentions. So that aha moment came in the crust of disaster. And that was the turning point that really allowed me to bring my passion and plan and business into full scale alignment with the vision I had held for so long.
How did you recover after that $1 million loss? Because most people would have been like, no, I'm done. So when you talk about that grit, that perseverance, that agility, talk to us about that.
Absolutely. But it's definitely not an overnight thing. And to lose that kind of revenue is not something that most people can actually calibrate towards. But I tell people all the time that where in most businesses, people count by the thousands. In agribusiness, we count by the millions. And so for me, it was a 3-stage process. The first stage was really becoming crystal clear about how I wanted to represent my empire and my agribusiness in a global arena. So I had to expand my vision from just farming and providing fresh produce, but I had to really grow and mold the companies into a global brand that is, able to connect with farmers in Rwanda and Belize and Peru and South America. We were able to recalibrate the vision. The second phase is to start raising serious capital, because in agribusiness, it does require not just the ability to put things into the ground and mobilize it into a brand, but it requires labor in logistics and operations and certifications and branding and lots of other things when dealing with the food and FDA and food and safety and things like that. So that was part 2, was really to start aggressively looking for funding. Phase 3 was really getting the right team on board, because agribusiness is not a solo project. It's not a farmer-based project. You really need PR people. You need a team that feed your magic. And so as the CEO, my primary goal is to bring the magic to the company, to bring the vision, to bring the pathway and the vision of what we're supposed to be actualizing. The team makes that happen with a collaborative effort. So it definitely was 3 phases, from everything from raising capital, expanding the vision, and also to creating a very authentic, propelling relationship with our entire team.
And talk about raising capital, because that's a big question. A lot of people would like to know, how do you raise the capital and how do you position yourself to get that massive amount of capital to be successful?
Well, I think the first thing is that one of the things that I do in my investment company, which is Filthy Rich Woman, is I teach people, especially women, to start with themselves. The first initial investment is how strong you are as a businesswoman. And a lot of people, in the corporate space really try to shift that responsibility over to the business. But the business is only as strong as the person's credibility and the person's credit worthiness. So I always advocate, and all of my team members and all of my clients, we start with personal financial development. How stable is your household? Because that platform and the way that you run your household and your personal finances is a good indication of how you're going to run a multi-million-dollar company. So I start with trade mining is what I use a lot for investors. So I help people raise capital by first becoming financially successful themselves, and then pairing that with their corporation and moving as a unit. So I don't separate people from their businesses, because the personality and the behavior of a person greatly impacts their ability to translate their vision and their business to investors. So number 1, I start with individual personal finance. How strong is your credit, and how can we design your credit to have the end game that you want? Number 2, what remedies do we actually need on your credit to be able to allow you to attract investors, but also to be able to actually be qualified to source large amounts of capital? Number 3, when that capital rolls in, how do you strategically put it in cash-based environments that starts what I'll call your economy of one. Because I'm not a person that believes the grand economy has an overall impact on most people. Most multimillionaires are created in depressions and deficits. So how strong their personal economy of one is what's going to allow them to attract the right investors and raise the right amount of capital for their unique vision and company.
Talk about getting into your business, agribusiness. How did you transition into that? Was that your background, or did you transition totally into that field?
Well, my background was education. I was a full-time teacher for about 11 years, and my background was elementary education, and I moved up in the ranks there, enjoyed it, but it didn't fulfill my ambition. The one thing that brought me a lot of joy was having the opportunity to intern on other farms. So I spent a couple of years actually on other farms, learning their operations as a farmer. And so what I learned was in my own personal operation and transition is that farmers have to develop into agribusiness people, because the way that the world is structured, there's nothing that you can grow in America that you can't buy from another country and import it over for cheaper than what you can actually grow it. So now the transition for me into agribusiness was developing from a farmer into a brand. How to move a brand across a region, across a state, across a section of the country, and then eventually across the waters into international development. And so, like I said earlier, that it boils down to if you're willing to mold yourself into business and start to look at your business from the lenses of the corporation. When you look at to me, the role of a farmer was a very consumer-based role. It had me basically producing food and then hoping that I got a fair share in revenue. Well, with a global economy that is really people can order food from their phones, efficiency, speed, and logistics became the primary building blocks of my transition. So I used that mechanism of growing from a farmer into a brand as sort of my catalyst into agribusiness, because the goal here was to own the land, to own the product, to own the brand, so that I can create generational wealth for my family. And I could not do that as a farmer.
Dr. Portia, step back a minute. How did you become a farmer? How did you transition from education to farming?
I interned a lot at different farms. My grandmother was a grower. I started there. And then I also spent a lot of time on various farms throughout Alabama and Georgia, just learning the actual skills of how to run a successful farm. So even though I was teaching full time and getting a doctoral degree, I still spent some summers, some internships. I was always fueled by the farming experience because I always had a very deep desire to grow things. I like to see things grow. I like to see things come into fruition, and I love to learn. And so one of my core values as the CEO, a very fast-paced CEO, is that I'm a master learner. And so transition from teaching into farming was self-initiated, and then coupled with the resources and the guidance of the United States Department of Agriculture, Conservation Department, U.S. Department of Labor, I was able to bring on some really powerful people to help me mold this opportunity into a viable, thriving, economical development. So that transition came from primarily self-exploration, but I was aided with the support of major departments and major sectors of the government that helped me to mold the farm into agribusiness.
And who was your mentors into taking farming into the brand to global? That's a brilliant strategy.
Yes, well, honestly, to be honest with you, I do have mentors, financial mentors, but a lot of the modeling that I've been successful with have been proprietary models that I've actually developed. So because I spent a lot of time also privately consulting farmers that want to make the transition from farming into agribusiness, into global branding, a lot of the pipelines to do that, I actually had to develop from scratch. Because when you, depending on who you're talking to, some people say, well, farmers are, their expertise is growing things. But the reality is that most farmers, unless they were raised in that field, really don't have the financial wherewithal to control their product. And from day number one, I felt there was the tension and the fear of knowing that I can put out X amount of dollars in crop and would still be at their mercy. So my very first couple of years, I had the mentorship of Tuskegee University. I had the mentorship of the Alabama Extension Office, the Alabama Farm Service Agency, the mentorship of Walmart Diversity Funding. So I had some pretty heavy partners who all told me, some of them told me that this has never been done by a woman before. You pretty much see this done in, generational farmers that are 6, 7, and 8 generations into farming. They own the land. But I knew that as I put sound international standards and practices in place for commercial agriculture, that it will lead me to the same kind of revenue structure that any other major corporation in this country would. So that modeling is something that developed over time through the partnership of people in various aspects.
Now, is your business family ran? Do you have more family members in your business?
I do not. I have more people around the globe that work with my business directly. My family is not an agriculture-based family, even though my grandmother and great-grandparents were agriculture sharecroppers. And my grandmother helped me a lot as well with the growing aspect, but because a lot of my interning and learning was on her farm as well. But the grandest scheme is I've been able to connect with some of the best people in the world, especially some of our partners down in Haiti and Belize and Peru and the Dominican Republic were able to make international collections. We are partnered with Georgia Tech is coming here to my Airbnb, all to learn on advanced hemp development and growth. And so the family side is kind of separate from the business side because most of my parents are older, and my siblings are not necessarily attracted to agribusiness. But I am the first woman and person in my family, besides my grandparents, to actually get back into agriculture and agribusiness.
Tell us about this innovative idea that you have with your restaurant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So I will let you share with the audience how that works.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we have a farm-to-table restaurant called Organpi Farms Market. And this farm-to-table restaurant is located downtown Selma. We're open seasonally, so we're mostly closed in the winter of the year, but we try to open spring, summer, early fall. And we really help farmers empower them by buying their produce. We also incorporate a lot of farmers' meetings. We attract a lot of farmers, empower a lot of farmers, and also we hold retreats here in Selma from people all over the world that want to come and open a farm-to-table restaurant. And so we pretty much try to serve what's local when it's available. We hire local people. Next door to the restaurant is a bar as well, which is one of the only hookah bar that's in the city. But we try to have local people engaged in agriculture. We also were one of the largest farming operations to hire local people here in the Selma area. So the restaurant is like the gathering place. That's the nucleus of where we bring people in. When we have individuals come for retreats and things, we open up the restaurant. When we have special events, downtown festivals, we open it up. But it's really a community place where people can come and experience agriculture from an aesthetic and culinary aspect, not just a box of, a cradle of squash, not knowing what to do with it. So we'll take that squash and make squash casserole, put it on the menu, and then as soon as that runs out, we buy something else from another farmer. So the menu changes regularly according to the seasons and what's in stock. But absolutely, we are actually turning the menu into a place where we can couple with local school districts and local colleges for farm-to-table culinary development.
Brilliant. And talk about your entrance into hemp.
Absolutely. Where we are, this is our first year into hemp. I spent part of the early midsummer traveling around the U.S., going to lots of cannabis and hemp farms throughout the U.S. And so we knew that we wanted to merge into a crop that was sustainable. I've never been interested in commodities, soybeans, corn, things like that. I just didn't have an interest in it, but I have a lot of commodity growers around where we are. I'm completely fascinated by hemp, especially what it does to the landscape, what it does to the economy, what it does to the people that grow hemp, and all of the issues that hemp solves. So this is our first year into agribusiness on the hemp side. We do have had 2 retreats educating women and people on hemp production on the business side. So it's plant for plant, dollar for dollar, how to move this crop from seed to the bottle, whether that's in the form of milliliters, or if you're doing a product line, or you're branding a product line, you're doing it for pets, you're using it in food. So we try to bring it together, and so that people can really learn how this $22 billion industry can impact ordinary people's lives. So this is our first year. We'll be in the licensing process for October, actually the 23rd of this month, but it's considered October. And we will have the largest production of hemp on the ground this upcoming spring 2020 in the state of Alabama.
And what was the licensing process for that?
The licensing process, we go through the Alabama Ag Department. We are still fairly new with the process, and the process is still unfolding. But you can be licensed as a grower, and you can also be licensed as a processor. Our application coming in September on the 23rd is applying to be both. Because we had the revenue and the partnership to start stages of building out our own processing and distribution, we definitely want to be licensed so that people that grow for the Organpi brand and follow our standards of growing can process in our facilities. That allows us to command a marketplace. So not only are we growing it for our own farming interests, but we're also educating people and buying and training them to grow the same thing and then turn around and buy it back from them. And so this part is really, really exciting because the licensing process is designed for either one, if you want to grow specifically or if you want to process. And we are actually applying to do both. And so we're really excited to learn how the process completed this October, and then we'll be full scale in April 2020. But we're teaching classes all year long on the hemp process. We're teaching classes on women in hemp. We're teaching classes on how to lease acreage of hemp from Organpi Farms. And we're also teaching on branding and development from the hemp global side, not just on the domestic side as well.
Dr. Portia, what problem exists in the world today that you'd like to solve?
Well, the lenses, I don't necessarily see the world through problems. I don't see problems. I see opportunities for people to rise up. So if I could select opportunities that I would like to focus in my attention it would be the issue of world hunger. It would be the issue of women in agribusiness development. It would also be the issues of nutrition in schools. These are some of the values that I hold as a company, but the underlying core value for me personally is to end world hunger. That is a very passionate place that I drive my companies from, and there's also a lot of the charitable donations that I make are to solve nutritional deficits, going into impoverished communities and teaching agriculture, job training in agriculture and agribusiness, and also educating and empowering women into agribusiness. So I view the world as being an opportunity for people to grow into their individual potential. And so those would be some of the issues that I would focus my attention on in this lifetime.
And tell us what you're most grateful for now in your life.
I am most grateful for my family, and the wonderful people I work with every single day. I look around and my children are healthy and happy, and we travel every day, but also I'm grateful for the opportunity to give back. And that was the sole motivation of establishing Dr. Portia TV, is to start recording and videoing and sharing these videos where people can learn everything from hemp, which I call the Pop Mama School. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share what it is that I've learned, and in the process of learning with other people, and seeing them take their ideas and run with it. So it would definitely be a combination of family and the wonderful people that I work with on a daily basis, as well as the thousands of children that we impact with our foods on a daily basis.
Talk about some advice you wish you had followed.
One of the pieces of advice I wish I had followed was to follow your instincts to the core. No matter how logical things seem, there is a voice inside of each person that tells you whether something is correct for you. And sometimes we as humans are a little bit too smart for ourselves. We talk our way out of opportunities because we don't see the full fruition very early on. Listen to your instincts and follow them, especially as women, because this is really the unlimited voice of prosperity that is embedded in each one of the cells that's in your body. It does not know limitation. So even when things don't look so good, if you feel like it's a great opportunity to learn, to grow, to expand, to give, to share, and to build an enormous business, stay with that feeling, because most of the places around the world that have become multi-billion-dollar companies have started off in the most darkest of places. Stay with your gut and stay with your feelings. I would say that is the biggest lesson that I've learned over these past 10 years.
What is something that we should know about your industry that we don't know?
I would say something that you don't know about agriculture is that you do not have to have a farming background to become a multimillionaire in agribusiness. The sector has changed from everything from product development to CBD lotions and makeup. There are even makeup in yogurts with CBD. So agribusiness is not contained by farmers. Agribusiness is really wide open for those with the boldness and the courage to be as innovative, as creative as possible. So if you can imagine where you want to take a brand and can tie it to a seed of some sort, you have all that is needed to enter the world of agribusiness.
Talk about self-care. What advice would you give our audience about self-care?
Well, being a CEO of a large company that really impacts lots of lives, I absolutely have to have time where I just rest. And it is absolutely critical that you take a break from your day-to-day operations and focus on and become grounded in what is Spirit asking of you now. My business is not the same as it was 8 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. It requires a better Portia. As we expand into different territories, the better I'm able to take care of my own self and my own sanity, the better leader I am to the people that I serve. Also, the more fulfilled I am. So self-care is as important as your revenue stream, because your company is only as good as you are. So self-care, daily self-care, I have a morning ritual, I have a night ritual that I use. I wake up, I have the same routine. I use a lot of neuro-linguistic programming. I use affirmations. I use technologies. I have downtime. I eat properly. I eat not so properly. So I'm always able to stay connected to what it is that I'm trying to express in the world at that now moment. So self-care just allows you to be present. It allows your ideas and your desires not to kind of haul you off on a never-ending trail. Self-care brings you back and stay grounded. So I practice self-care every day. I read for 3 to 4 hours every day. I light my candle. I'm able to focus. I'm able to breathe. I'm able to meditate every single day. And that makes me a better person, which calibrates over to a better businesswoman.
What are you reading right now and why?
I am reading The Magic of the Sea. And I'm reading that because I go to the beach almost every weekend. And I'm learning about all of the ocean life, not the sea, I'm sorry, the ocean every weekend to the beaches. So I'm able to learn what's actually in the ocean. My children and I went on a shark gaze this past weekend. So now it's just kind of all studying dolphins and sharks. And my daughters are fascinated with mermaids and things like that. I'm also reading books, of course, all of the books on law of attraction and things like that. But my current most important book right now is the Sea Magic, Ocean Magic, the magic of the ocean, to learn about how the ocean actually is comprised, the waves and the currents. And I was kind of led to this book when Hurricane Dorian came through and I saw all the turbulence and all those things in the ocean. I was completely fascinated by what causes this. How does something so turbulent create something such a level of devastation, but also has a level of calmness? So that is what I'm reading right now about all of the different creatures and the processes that take place in the ocean, which kind of is going to lead me to ocean rights and things like that, aquaculture and things like that. But yes, I'm reading The Magic of the Ocean now.
Talk about your legacy, Dr. Portia. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a woman that lived her full potential. It's that simple for me. I do not believe in leaving this planet with hopes and someday acquiring that. My personal belief system doesn't allow me to squander the gifts of the Creator now. So for me, it is really quite simple. I want to be remembered as a woman who came to earth and lived out her full potential, died with no regrets, and really looked at the world as being a place of growth and opportunity and magic and intention and beauty, not a world that is just a place to go and to work. So I want to be remembered as a woman who actually sought to live out her potential. And of course, as a woman who left millions of dollars to the children. But that's the other side. But for me personally, I want to be remembered for the intention that I live with and the lives and the people that I impact on a daily basis.
Tell us a song title that would best describe you or your brand.
Oh, wow. A song title that would best describe the brand, I would say, would be The Magic of Growing Beautiful Things. I look at what we do as a form of beauty. I look at what we do as a form of innovation. And I look at what we do as a form of ethical responsibility to the people that we serve. So everything that I do in my companies has to be surrounded by the essence of beautiful. So if I could describe the Organpi brand, the Organpi experience, it would be one that's nested in authenticity and beauty. So it would be the magic of growing beautifully, or the magic of growing something beautiful. I like to think of my brand as being one that's magical, because it really, the kinds of people and the thousands of people that really support the brand, whether that's on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, the number of people that are surrounded and attracted to a company that's developing in rural Selma, Alabama, has to be magical. So I like to involve spirit in my work. I like to involve beauty and the aesthetics and innovation and learning and connecting with people. Authentically connecting with people is a huge part of the core value system that we work with. So a song title would be The Magic of Growing Something Beautiful, if that's possible.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What is a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
Oh, wow. I use Constant Contact. I use, of course, Facebook, all the social media platforms, website development. I also use Upwork a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I love the Upwork platform. It allows me to connect with very talented people from all over the world that can really translate my brand. I'm very particular about how my brand shows up in print. And so for me, really finding very creative people, people that actually feel magical themselves. So I seek people that already have something going on in their lives and connect with them. So Upwork allows me to really connect with very beautiful people all over the world that do extraordinary things. There's a team member that's in Canada that does all of our PDFs. She's doing the Master Women in Hemp book. There's someone in, I think it's Bolivia, that is working with all of our Dr. Portia TV that we're launching this upcoming Sunday, all the flyers and the enrollment and things like that. So technology on the Upwork side is a must. I work with that every single day. And of course the messenger and the sites and all those kind of things like that. But definitely for the most part, Upwork is the must that we work with, as well as coupling with software development for the network that we're building as well. So those things I would say, if I had to name one, it would definitely be Upwork.
Dr. Portia, we can learn from successful entrepreneurs like yourself or brands. Tell us a brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
Absolutely. Well, I am fascinated by, oh, wow, that's going to be a hard one. My favorite brand is Starbucks, but I'm completely passionate and inspired by Elon Musk. I think that he's absolutely brilliant. I like to read books on transhumanism and technology, AI technology, robotics. And so one of the things that Elon Musk does with his companies is he infuses a huge portion of creativity into his work. The same with Starbucks. Starbucks I love because they have mastered the experience of people. And that is something that I learn from every time I go into Starbucks, how to create the aesthetics of a great experience. So we try to actually mock that in our little farmhouse, farm to table restaurant. When people come in, they always say, oh my God, the energy in here is beautiful. We have brick walls and artwork and hardwood floors and things that really allow a person to feel really good. So if I had to say two companies that would be very influential in my life, it would be Starbucks. And it's because of their ability to maximize their customers' experience, also to bring and introduce new product lines into their already existing primary lines. And then Elon Musk for his commitment to really building out AI technology, transhumanism, really propelling the species to a greater and greater degree of expansion. So those two I would definitely say.
So, Dr. Portia, you mentioned that you're a mother. How do you include your personal life, family life with your business?
I am very, very transparent with my children, and I carry no guilt around the time that I miss with my children. And I know for a lot of people that is very not so good, but I explain and I'm very transparent with my children. And I tell them I'm flying here because I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then I turn around and ask them, well, how are you going to spend the weekend? So I hold my children accountable for their work. When I say work, I'm not talking about their labor. I mean how they use their time. And I also explain to my children a lot that the reason why I'm doing this is because we want to live a more expansive experience and share more with the world. So my children are 17, 9, 7, and 4. And they are all just really enthralled around the farm. Now, they didn't necessarily enjoy the field work. They don't enjoy the heat because there's so much technology at home that they can be doing. But I am really transparent with them in reference to why is it that I'm not even working, but why is it this particular flight is important to me because I'm going here because I want to do X, Y, and Z. And how does this benefit you? Well, it allows us to do greater things for a greater amount of people. But I also, in my family life, prioritize my learning. I'm that mother that if I can't read, I'm no good. If I can't sit down in Starbucks, I'm no good. So I try to really own my space, and I recognize boundaries with my children. So they know that when mommy time is here and I'm reading, this is an undisturbed time for me, and this is a boundary, a hard boundary for me. So it teaches them to be in control of their energy instead of the effort that I would have to put into making and controlling them in every aspect of their lives. Plus, I don't think rigid parenting leads to entrepreneurship. I think failure leads to entrepreneurship. So having your children try different things and become very acclimated to things changing, like mommy catching a flight in 2 days that's going to be gone for 4 days, or mommy going to Aspen for a couple of days to look at cannabis farms, like really getting them in the mode of thinking, changing, and growing for themselves. So I balance my family life with being very real, very honest, and I involve them, in as much as possible. But they do understand that this is a family effort, and we each are responsible first to ourselves, and then we share collectively beyond that point.
Dr. Portia, what is the one impact you want this interview to give to our audience?
The one impact I would like for this interview to give the audience is that all things are possible. That there is no limitation on anyone's behavior as a CEO, as a business person. There are no limits. I do believe that everything has been given to everyone. So any idea, mental construct, or belief system that a person has, that someone is withholding resources or have the power to withhold resources from them, is an absolute falsehood of a reality. We're living in a time where through the mere having of a phone, you now have access to the entire world. Take the opportunity and run with it, and know that all things are possible to the degree you allow them into your unique experience.
If you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you would have asked yourself? And I want you to ask the question, Dr. Portia, and answer the question also.
Sure. I would say, Dr. Portia, you mention magic a lot in your work. What does magic mean to you? And I will answer the question by saying magic is the ability to live out the boldness of God in you. That's personal magic. That's being bold and courageous enough to look around and see no one that looks like you, no one with a background of you, no one in the same price or credit score as you, and say, I want to live in a house that looks like this. I want to drive this kind of car. I want to impact and talk to millions of people. And with the more you're able to vocalize that, the more you churn and bring up that magical force in you that says all things are possible and accessible to you at all times. And so the core value that I always say as a CEO that I bring to my companies is that I bring the magic. I don't allow smallness. I encourage big thinking, bold thinking, courageous thinking. When people around me may shrink up, a lot of people lose that kind of money, or they go into a deficit, or they lose a house or a car, they shrink. But this is the time to expand. When you feel that you've hit a certain low in life, that is the biggest springboard. If you can just take your attention off of what you're perceiving as failure and focus keenly on what it is that you want to manifest and what you want to desire, everything else in the middle becomes absolutely irrelevant. So the core question I would ask is, what is magic? It is the boldness of living out the whispers, the desires, the wants, the boldness, and the courage of the God force in each person, especially in a person that's starting a multi-million-dollar business. It gets to a point where you really have to feel inside of yourself to know where you're going. Because experts are in the business of being experts. But at the end of the day, it's your vision in your mind that you're bringing into fruition. And magic is what gets you there, not logic. Magic. The boldness and the creative power to wake up and say, I want to create something bigger than myself today. And that to me is the question I would ask.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I'd like you to give us very quick answers. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am so ready, yes.
Thank you. The last movie you saw?
Avatar.
You relax doing what?
Reading.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Tina Turner.
Your favorite dance song?
Electric Slide.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Yogurt.
Your favorite month?
June.
Dr. Portia, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. But before we let you go, why don't you share with our audience what is the best way for them to connect with you and to support your business?
Absolutely. The best way to connect are two ways. We're launching Dr. Portia TV on tomorrow. Dr. Portia, that's DrPortia TV.com. You can connect with me there on Dr. Portia TV. You can also see what all of the services that I offer at www.filthyrichwoman.com. Has a lot on investments, trade lining, business credit, how to start, where to go. And then you can always email me at info@drportiatv.com. Those are the best ways to connect. And also, I'm on Instagram at Dr. Portia Fulford. I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Portia Fulford and Facebook at Dr. Portia Fulford.
That's a wrap, Dr. Portia.
Thank you so very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.